launched a Supreme Court action on behalf of families. And I'm really pleased, for example, Adele is one of the families representatives over here at the moment. We've had hundreds of family members approach us and saying, what can Justice Action do about the situation? And so there's no way we can sit back and do nothing. It just can't happen. We got we're talking about 13,000 people sitting at the moment in their cells, and just as Willie has described, the situation is just absolutely impossible, untenable. Greg Barnes, for example, is one of the people who's talked about how it's a breach of the United Nations Convention Against Torture to leave people in the cell without access to any fresh air, access to health, and then waiting to be infected. People who have been observing the area of prisons know that the rate of infection inside the US prisons is 6 times the rate of that out in the general community. So, we're just waiting for, well, in fact, already have seen in Parklee, the rate there of infection is 10 times that of the general community. So and the other thing about this is the health of people in prisons is really poor, it's really low. People are left in their cells. They start to get more and more depressed as they sit in there as well. No access to family members. So all that stuff has been just a really appalling situation. And then of course the health services inside the prison, everyone agrees, are really poor. So it means you don't have your own doctor. You don't have people you trust. And a First Nations a person does not have access to the Aboriginal medical service, for example. It doesn't happen. So like we were in front of a parliamentary inquiry 2 weeks ago. And we had those questions were asked quite directly from Justice Health. Why haven't you got Aboriginal medical services in there? Why haven't you got people who are trusted to deliver services? And wouldn't you expect resistance to vaccination as well? But why have you got vaccination rates of only 22%? And they said, well, they weren't even concerned. They were treating prisoners as though they were just sort of and not important. But then they got their comeuppance on it as well, because as soon as they started to release people out of Parklee, they had people going down into places like Bateman's Bay, and then whole communities were infected as a result of that. So you have people moving through the prison system all the time, who are going in and out, and then infecting the general community. And that stage they started to stand up and went, whoa, it's not as easy as they thought it was. They couldn't just leave prisoners in there just to be infected and forget them. So there are some significant issues here, but the politics of it is that, as Willie was saying, if you can leave prisoners in behind their cell doors and actually act as though it's not important, and you can't hear the screams and things, and you can't hear the anger, then you might just hope that the average citizens is going to forget them entirely. So what we decided, after a lot of pressure from families and people like Adele, for example, who I'm hoping that she might say something shortly, a family member, that they said to us, let's run something, let's do something. And so we said, yeah, let's do it. So we've got a Supreme Court action coming up next Wednesday, where we're demanding that they use the power they have to release people. So the Commission has been given the power to release people. And so just particularly last year, in March, they changed the law, which allows them to release people, but they've done nothing. So low vaccination rates, we said they must vaccinate all these prison officers and screws have got to be vaccinated. How dare they not be? The same as aged care. And they have to give people access to vaccinations, have proper health services, people who, doctors who are trusted, instead of having, having people who don't give a stuff about you, and then having access to locking people in cells. And they'll leave people in cells for we've heard all but 10 minutes a day, a whole day without 10 minutes out. And some people have been 17 days in a cell with not having left the cell at all. Appalling situation. So anyway, we've got a case coming up, and on Wednesday, and so we intend to go and thrash around a bit, and we've got a few lawyers who'll give us a hand as well. Otherwise, we're going in regardless.